Am să-l invit în scenă pe domnul Alain Heureux, președintele IAB Europe, cel care va ține opening speech-ul acestui eveniment.
Well, good morning, everybody. I switched to English. My Romanian is still not good. I was here early July to present Mediascope, so maybe some of you I saw already there. But like Joanna said, I'm Alain Heureux, the president of IAB Europe. And compared to IAB Romania, we are a bit like sisters or brothers from each other. We do the European work. What is, for a big part, is working in Brussels, making sure that, we will explain later on, that the legislative work is not what we could say under control of the industry, but is at least in dialogue with the industry. Because in Brussels, we know there is a big challenge happening now, that people are starting to think about developing new legislation for digital advertising in general. And it's important that we get a voice there. And the voice, we try to be your voice from IAB Romania, from IAB Norway, from IAB UK. We try to be your voice in Brussels, like Joanna is the voice with IAB Romania of the industry here in Bucharest. What I will try to do in the welcome and opening session is to provide you a bit of trends, facts and figures out of Europe. I think Romania, you know everything about Romania, or I hope. And if you don't, make sure to be connected with IAB Romania. But I will try to give you the European perspective to just share with you what is happening in other markets and how we can eventually learn from each other, because I still believe that that's a process we should do much more. Because if something is working in Poland, if something is working in Denmark or in Spain, why could it not work in Romania? And vice versa. If something is working in Romania, we could try to export it to other markets as well. So let's enter into what I would like to share with you. Like I say, my role is certainly to promote digital marketing in general. We love what is happening today in media and marketing, in digital media and marketing, and of course, loving to be there today as well in Romania. The mission all over, from the IABs, if it's in the US, if it's in China, if it's in Europe, we're on a mission, and the mission is to grow digital advertising. And you might say, like, what's a strange mission? Because digital is growing every year. You could say, if we do nothing, if IAB Romania would not be there, if I would not be there, if anybody of us would be doing what we do in local markets, it will probably grow. But I think it will probably grow like this. It's like in a casino. You just think like Romania will grow. Let it happen. It will happen anyway what you do. And I think that's a wrong vision. I think a trade association like IAB has an important role today. We have to organize that growth. And to organize, what does it mean? It means on one side, harmonization, standardization of the market. Because remember the good old days, if you are already since long in advertising, remember what television achieved. And we need to learn from each other, from another media as well. Television did something great. It was easy to buy, easy to sell, easy to produce, easy to measure. And there was an entire system that was set up, an ecosystem, to make sure that that medium, that was an important medium for consumers and are still important, could grow up to the size from what it became at the end of the 90s. Now, learning from that, we need to avoid playing casino. We need to set up an entire ecosystem in which harmonization, standardization is important, the measurement, the way we buy and sell, and it's a very sophisticated and complicated market, but I think we need to do much better. Like on lobby, the work we do in Brussels, lobby and public affairs, because you will hear a lot about that. I have a colleague from IAB Europe with me, Lionel. We have a good member from IAB Europe with Yahoo. We will explain further the work and the challenge of public affairs. And it's again the same. Law will happen in Brussels. Whatever you want to do, they will create law. There are more than 70,000 people, I think, in Brussels creating everyday law. So if they don't create law, they don't have a job anymore. So don't worry, they're going to create laws. But if you let it go, it might go into different directions. And we had already a good example the last year of what can happen if we're not organized. And there's a famous e-cookie, or the cookie or the e-privacy directive that came out. It's not an example of how you should be organized. And I think we have to learn from that and make sure that in the next directive, the data protection directive, that we are better organized, and that we can come out with what I believe should be a better law for citizens and consumers, better law for the industry, and a law just that respects some of the dynamics of our industry and from the ecosystem. So that's why, even on public affairs, get yourself organized. And that was the reason why probably I decided to step out of the private sector myself a couple of years ago. From education, I'm a lawyer, but I was 25 years working in agencies until I crossed IAB. And it's true that I felt a bit like in love with IAB, because I think that this industry is still young and needs probably the association to be much more in the front of the barricades and not behind. And maybe in 10 years' time we can be a bit more working in the shadow of the industry, but today the battles are still so important that we need to be in front. And 4 years ago, when we decided to let's set up an IAB Europe, and that people were pointing to me like, why not leading this initiative? I said, yeah, let's step out of private sector, work on this trade association, and I will see how long. But I still think that we need strong associations. We need people like Joanna, passionate about her job. We need people like Joanna all over the places, in different IABs. We have 27 IABs in Europe now, to make sure to organize this. Because casino work is not good. It's not good for your business as well. You need to do business forecast. You need to work with your own agency, company, media. You need to tell to your CEO what will happen next year. And if you start your presentation with this, I don't think your CEO will be laughing a lot with your business plan. What do we need in general? One first part and first element we need to provide to the industry is still data, reliable data. We need data in Romania, we need data in Russia, we need data all over the places. From Finland down to Italy, we need reliable data. We in Europe, or IAB Europe, we try to produce a bit of what I would say, either we do really like pan-European research ourselves, either what we try to do often is benchmarking. We take data from everywhere and we make it comparable. And the first study we do every year, and I hope you use it a lot in Romania, and you use it when talking about Romania, but also talking about the rest of Europe, is a study called ADEX, Advertising Expenditure. And what we do there is trying to analyze the data from all the different countries. It's more than 25, 26 that are in the system yet, so not all the countries participate yet, but every year we try to increase the number of IABs participating in the survey. And the survey is really about benchmarking, taking back the data, putting it in one central machine, and make it comparable. So if you measure on a specific way in Romania, and France measures in another one, we need to make sure that we are comparing apples and apples. So we re-crunch the data and produce the one big figure for Europe. And what is that figure? The figure is of close to 21 billion that was invested last year in Europe. So it might sound like, whoa, one day hopefully that will be the figure of Romania, might be a bit big, but 21 billion. So if we come back to the mission, did we do good job so far? I think 21 billion is not that bad, and we will see how much today is generated in the US, but we are a significant big industry. And think about what you read every day in the newspaper. You read about economical recession. You talk about people in the streets because losing their job. We still here represent an industry, we should be proud of that. An industry that is growing close to 15% in 2011. And now, we're in October, so I don't have the figures yet for 2012, but I have a feeling. I'm traveling all over Europe, and when I ask to the countries, how is it going? When I ask to the companies, how is it going? I think until the end of August or the end of July, the year was very good, a strong growth, 15 to 20%. I think August and September, many companies and countries started to have a little bit difficult, but let's hope that the Christmas period will bring back a strong growth, and that we can end again the year with 15 to 20% on average in Europe. If that's the case, tell me any other industry in Europe or in the world that is growing 15 to 20%. I don't know a lot, and that creates a lot of job, it creates a lot of value it creates a lot of activities, products and services for the consumers as well. We should be proud of that and continue to fight to make sure that in Romania as well, I know that last year, 2011, was not a perfect year for Romania, but I hope that this year we can all work together, get the industry organized, learn from what we did wrong, learn from what the other countries did maybe right, and make sure that we can bring that over to Romania and get back to figures like 15 to 20%. If we can get to that situation, it's better for each of you. If you're an advertiser, an agency, or a media, imagine having 15 to 20% growth on your business plan for next year. I think everybody would dream of that. So like I said, it was close to 15% in 2011, and I think this year we're going to be again close to the 15 to 20% on average in Europe. Some countries are doing a much bigger growth than others. We were proud of UK, Germany, France, I guess in 2006, 7, 8, 9, because they were the fastest growing markets. But now it's much more Central East Europe, it's much more Russia, Turkey, that often presents 30, 40, 50% of growth. Last year, in 2011, Russia was 55% of growth. And again, it's not happening like in a casino, it's happening because it's organized. And that's certainly a message for you as well in Romania. Get it organized. Sit around the table of IAB Romania. Sit with your competitors. Sit with different people from the ecosystem, advertisers, media, and agencies. Talk together, get it organized. And then you'll find the figures like I was showing earlier. The main learnings from last year, like I said, the growth close to 15%. The average, so the market share, it's still an important notion. When you imagine that it's close to 22% on average now, so the last bullet point, 21.8%, close to 22%. It means that on every €5 that is spent on media, 1 out of 5 is spent now on digital. Now often people typically will ask me like, what's your goal? What's your objective? When will you stop preaching and talking at congresses for this growth? Is 22 great? Yeah. The biggest markets now, UK, Denmark and the Netherlands, are above 30%. The lowest, smallest markets are close to 10%. So is the mission achieved and can I stop and go back to private sector? No. I don't think that the answer is 50, 60 or 70%, what television had for many years in the 80s and the 90s. I think anybody of you, what I would recommend you is whoever you are, in 2012, you should become much more digital centric. That's the most important. Start your journey, start your dialogue with your consumer on digital platforms. Like in the 90s, I could laugh and I could understand the strategy of a brand like William Lawson whiskey, putting Sharon Stone, 3 very big Scottish guys on a TV spot, dropping it on TV and starting the story on TV. And after that, there was animation in the store, there was animation on the streets, there were pictures on billboards and in magazines, but the story was starting on TV. We were TV-centric. I think now in 2012, I would dare to say to everybody, become digital-centric. You start your dialogue with the consumer on digital platforms. And after that, when the connection happens, after that you can decide whatever you want to do. If you want to put 70% on TV, why not? There is not just a justification of where people spend their time. Sometimes it's a question, where do my competitors spend this money as well? If I'm Renault and I see that Toyota is putting his energy on TV, I might decide to put more online to differentiate myself from him, or vice versa. So it's not just a question of give me 50% of market share, it's a question of start your story on digital platforms, then you decide on your media strategy, and I'm pretty sure that we're going to get a fair amount or a fair share of your total investment. Is the industry globally doing well? Yes, this is 2011. You see, like, the US was at 24.5 billion, we were at 21.5 billion, and this little green dot is interesting. It's an estimate, but we estimate that China was close to 6 billion. They are still on an average growth of 50% or close to, and we think by the end of 2013 they might be close to 18, and if we continue our growth, we think together, US close to a 60 billion industry. And again, I think that's, if some people are still doubting about digital, is this a trustful environment? Yes. And is it a big environment, a big industry? Yes. Can you rely with your strategy on digital? Yes. And many others are doing it. So quite significant industry. Some key further trends. What I like to highlight is the growth of video. And why? It is not because I'm sponsored by any video company, but video is still something that I think can bring back more money in the system, and money from what? From branding campaigns. And why? Because, to be honest, I think video, audiovisual communication is still the one that creates the most emotions. I can create a beautiful banner, I can create a beautiful search engine strategy, I can create many beautiful things, but bringing over emotions, the thing that you see and you love or cry, it's still audiovisual material. And for long we couldn't use it because the broadband was not of that very good quality. But now, broadband all over Europe, with good access for everybody, starts to be above the 50% everywhere. And with that we can start playing again with things like audiovisual material. And it's growing, it's already 8% on average, depending from one market. We don't have the information from everybody, but I think in 2012, Alex, we're going to try to include it, a specific zoom-in topic on video, because I think it will bring in branding dollars or branding revenues into the system, but it's still welcome. Mobile the same, it's only 2% of display on average today, of all the display markets. And I think what is fascinating about these smart devices and the phones that are sold now on the market and in the hands of the consumer, it's a thing that brings us close to what we all dream about. Bring the right message to the right people on the right time at the right place. It's a mix of location-based services and intelligent kind of marketing. And that we can achieve that with a smart device. So it's interesting to follow it. We still have concerns also about the trust and the privacy that people feel about using the location-based services, but I think it's certainly an evolution that we need to watch too, because it's something that we all dream about, marketeers. What I like as well about our industry, it is not driven by me trying to sell something to you. It is not driven by a company trying to sell something. It is not driven by a professor writing a book and saying, this is the marketing of the future. It's much more driven by the consumer. The consumer is showing the way. The consumer is indicating us where he's today. And sometimes I believe even that the consumer is ahead of the industry. He's already sometimes doing stuff, and we're looking at it and saying, like, interesting, maybe we need to go there. And that's good, I think. It's not that bad to have a consumer-driven industry. The masses are showing us the way. They were like that in the 90s. They were passively looking to media, and now they are like that. They are interacting, because people often are saying to me, what is the difference now between traditional media and marketing and new media and marketing? It's the interactivity. It's a permanent interactive dialogue that you have with your consumers, or potentially. It's easy to click, it's easy to provide an opinion, it's easy to interact with your target groups. That makes a big difference. That's a study we do every year with a company, and it's called the MCDC survey. We survey people, not enormous panels, it's like 2,500 people in Europe, just a qualitative panel, and we try to ask some questions to. And one of the answers that was, for me, well, still interesting and challenging, is that people are saying, 44% of them are saying, I would even be interested to go on co-production, co-creation of new products and services. So if you are Red Bull, Nike, or Hewlett-Packard, well, think about this, to include much more your consumers, even in the innovative and creative process. And that's something, imagine that in the 80s and the 90s, we were not thinking about. We were doing R&D in a division with some colleagues. Now you can even do it with your consumers. To understand better the consumer, and I was here in the beginning of July to present the new Mediascope study, so I will not dig in detail. You have a beautiful booklet that is there outside, and you can be in contact with Joanna to get more information about Mediascope and the figures for Romania, but just a few snapshots on what we learned from Mediascope. So Mediascope was a kind of study where we try to understand the new attitudes and consumption patterns from consumers on media. Not only on new media, because if you do an online survey, guess what? You only touch people that are connected and online. We wanted to do an interview of people offline and online. Just say, tell us what you do. Do you still read newspaper on paper? Tell it. Do you still listen to traditional radio, or do you listen to radio on your PC? So all kind of things that we were questioning people about. So that's the aim of the survey. And we did it in 28 markets, and so well done that Romania is on the map as well. 28 markets in total. They did what? 50,000 interviews, face-to-face or on the phone, asking 20 to 25 minutes of interview, questions to people about the way they behave, what they do, when dealing about media, about content, about advertising. And it represents all kind of different socio-demographical population, from young and old, from men and women, from north, south, east and west, from everywhere we have questioned them. The one thing that often we need to still continue to say to advertisers and marketeers, have we reached? Yes, we have 65% on average reach throughout Europe. Means 426.9 million people are connected. From a total adult population of 652 million, it's 65%. So do we have reach? Because this is still an ingredient that many marketeers need to know and understand. Do we have reach? Yes, we have reach, 65% on average. There is a difference between the north, the south, the east and the west. And we can see that in Central East Europe, it's more around the 50-55% of penetration of internet, whilst in the Nordics and in the Baltics you're close to 90%. But every year it's still growing. So we have a big mass of people connected online. 65% still growing, and the average of time spent on digital platforms is close to 15 hours. Also something important for marketeers. Can I reach many people? Yes. More than 400 million people in Europe. Do they spend a lot of time on these digital devices? Yes. 15 hours. Close to the time spent behind a TV set. Much more than on traditional newspapers, magazines, and radio. So we are, in terms of time spent, we are certainly in the top 1 or 2 media all over Europe. And in spendings, with the expenditure, we see that more and more we are in the top 1 or 2 as well. So we start to get to a situation where, on average, we are good. But in some countries we can improve. And Romania is certainly one of the countries where we should improve, and we should learn from this time spent. I think the time spent in Romania was even bigger than the European average. So you have less connected people, but your average of time spent behind digital platforms is bigger. Compared with the other media, this is it, like I said. The average of TV, close to 17 hours. The average of online, close to 15 hours. And of course, when you ask to people, what do you do online? You more and more receive the answer, well, online I read my magazine. I read my newspaper, I listen to radio, or I watch TV online. So we become a bit of like the glue of everything. Everything is happening behind digital platforms. That's a reality of tomorrow as well, where we'll need to learn what we all can do on digital media, and I'm sure that your kids, or my kids, will very soon not understand why we talk about new media and old media. It's still us in our practices, we still divide it a little bit, but tomorrow that will probably disappear. The interesting other thing, so it's a few snapshots that I took out of Mediascope, but the fascinating thing is this multitasking. So one person out of 2 that was surveyed is saying, I'm doing 2 things together. I thought in my young days, I was told that only women can do 2 things together, but apparently now, it's 50% of the population is saying, I do something, I use a second screen, a second device when I watch TV. So I'm looking to the TV screen in the living room, and in the meantime, I'm doing something on my smartphone, on my pad, or on my PC. And this multitasking that is still growing heavily, is like still growing more than 50% year in, year out. That's still something that should all make us think about, is that positive, is that negative? But certainly take it into account, because it means that people are sitting there and they can eventually do two things. They can watch the content and surf further on that content. They can watch to an advertising and maybe watch further about that product on another device. Is it distractive or is it creating more engagement? Well, still trying to understand what is all happening there, but one thing for sure, like I was saying, the difference between the north and the south is still sometimes happening in terms of how many people are doing on multitasking. But you should, when you do media strategy, you should know that 3 hours are done in common between TV and online. So there are 3 hours during which, when you do media planning and you choose your media during the day, you should know that you can do something between that screen and that screen and see how you can empower that, how you can create further engagement, because when you ask the people, is it positive? Well, 33% of the people are saying, I'm rather, in general, I'm rather trying to surf, or it happened that I'm surfing on information related to the content that I saw on the other screen. So it is like empowering each other and creating potentially more engagement. And people that are heavily connected, so the heavy users, are even saying two further informations. 40% of them are saying, when I surf on my other device, it is in 40% of the cases it is related to the content from what I saw on TV, and 15% even saying related to advertising. So again, it's not 100%. I'm not trying to say like, hey, look here, whatever you do, it will click and generate more engagement. But already 15% of the people are saying, I click on a product, an ad, that is related to something I saw there. Or on content, for the content creators, a lot of media are hesitating, is online, will it be my death or will it be the future? Well, look here, for your content, 40% of connection between the one screen and the other related to content, and 15 on advertising. So yes, we are growing, fantastic. Yes, the consumer is changing, and we seem to become more and more the medium that consumers love the most. But we still have one enormous challenge that some colleagues will be talking about, and it is the respect and the trust we need to probably sometimes re-establish with the consumer, because we're a little bit like all shaken, it's new. I think there will be new definitions and feelings culturally when talking about privacy online. What do you feel yourself? For you, for your kids, for your parents, how do you feel about it? Everybody has an opinion, and we probably need a bit more time to understand how that will shape in the future. And why? Because everything is dealing with data, and the future of advertising will be related to data. Many of marketing and advertising in the future will be data-driven. Means in the business there is a fight on the control of data. Who will own the data? Media, agencies, advertisers. And the consumers as well are saying, and what about my data? And when is it personal? When is it not personal? So an all kind of debate about the control of data. Again, the same study, one snapshot, but an interesting one. 37% of the people are saying, I still hesitate to use location-based services because I'm a bit scared about Big Brother is watching me, about the fact that my privacy might be touched by some companies. That's still something we should learn about, because I believe it's future of advertising. Location-based services make things so relevant to you. You walk somewhere and relevant information, maybe advertising is coming to you. Fabulous. But this we should learn about and make sure that that can be close to 0% in the future. There will be a kind of new balance between freedom and restriction. I'm a lawyer myself, and I think that any industry needs law. And do we have the right law yet today? No. So we need to rewrite some law, but we still need to preserve freedom. Freedom, because I think that internet has shown a lot of very positive things as well. Think about everything you can do online in terms of products and services. I think it's fabulous, and it still can grow in many other parts of the world, in Africa, in Asia, in India. So it's a fabulous tool in industry, but there will be a kind of balance between total freedom and total restriction. And in between, we believe as an industry that we should engage much more into self-regulation. Self-regulation is not there to replace law. Self-regulation is complementary to law. Law will be there, and we next to the law as an industry can develop some self-regulatory initiatives just to take on us certain parts and elements from the big debate, take that on us. And what we decided to do together with the industry was on online behavioral advertising, so the famous OBA, on online behavioral advertising, we decided to launch the first self-regulatory initiative. What will it be? You will see this little beautiful icon. We spent hours on design on it, but it's the icon that when you see a plastic bottle, you have like a little icon to say you can recycle this. Well, this is a bit like our icon for the digital advertising industry, where we are saying, or we pretend to say to the consumer, we want to be transparent with you, transparent about our practices on delivering online behavioral advertising, what is relevant for you, what is probably less irritating you. So we want to be transparent, we want to provide you with a choice and with some tools to control your choice. That's what the icon should be the symbol of. When you click on that icon, you will come onto a website that we call the YOC website, Your Online Choice, translated in 24 languages today in Europe. You can, as a Romanian citizen, as an Estonian citizen, as a French citizen, you can go there, read what it is all about, what are cookies, what is OBA, and how eventually disconnect or connect yourself from these practices. You can say at a certain moment, oh, I see here a list of companies that are delivering third-party cookies on my machine, and I would like to say no to this one, yes to that one, no to that one. So you have a control tool to express your choice, and we explain what we do. That's exactly the first initiative that we're launching now. And who's the body that will launch all this? It's the European. We like creating associations, apparently. We've created again another association based in Brussels. And it's the European Interactive Digital Advertising Alliance. Everybody's sitting around the table. Advertiser Association, so the European headquarters, Agency Association, TV, radio, newspapers, magazines, direct marketing, and we, the Internet boys. We're all sitting around the table, and we have created this body, promoting the icon, promoting most importantly this, and for me important because it is the first time ever that in digital advertising we launch self-regulation. I'm sure there will be more in the next coming years. But I think if we do this properly in Romania and elsewhere, it might have an impact on what the regulator and the consumer feels about us. And that's so important because the future will certainly be digital. I think everybody in the room is convinced. Organized we need to be. That's why I'm promoting so much. If you're not a member of IAB Romania, well, when you leave the door, you should go to Ioana, because it's important to sit around the table and all talk about this and see how we can get it organized. Today we're already a little bit organized all over the world. We have IABs in Latin America, in the north of the States, a lot in Europe, some in New Zealand, Australia, and some first pieces in Asia. Not yet enough. We don't have an IAB in China, we don't have an IAB in India, but hopefully it will come quickly in the next coming years. At national level, what is the mission of Ioana? Ioana for me is nearly like a local embassy, a local chamber of commerce for digital. Anybody, Romanian or not Romanian, should be able to knock on the door and say, hey, help me, I want to do something in digital, explain me the Romanian market. That's why it's a lot about education. Regulation means standardization, and inspire, creating seminars like this where we try to inspire and to educate and to promote digital. At the central level, my job with my team is really to concentrate on the 4 P's, 4 pros, to promote the industry. So we have our own congress in Barcelona every year where we do a big promotional activity. We create also quite a lot of white papers. White papers are just papers that we focus on affiliate marketing, we focus on the business automation, so the real-time bidding platforms, ad exchange platforms, to just explain and promote some activities. We do a lot of prove the value of this digital advertising, that's research. Protect is what we do in Brussels, and professionalize in general, I think is also trying to make sure that we can standardize properly all this industry. Today, where we are, in orange is where we have an IAB, in green, where we don't have yet an IAB or a trade association. We're not yet in Portugal, in Luxembourg, in the Baltics. We're not yet in countries like Bosnia and Montenegro and others. But I hope that very soon, that's here, there are like 7, 8 new initiatives coming up. In the Baltics, I was there a couple of weeks ago, and people are wanting to set up a trade association there. Same in Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan. You see everybody that understands the value of digital advertising and understands the role of a trade association. So that's where we are today. We are staffed. That's also something of my big belief. A trade association without staff, a trade association without a general manager like Johanna, you can forget it. Just build something with volunteers is not enough. You need staff, you need an organization, you need professionals that are driving the trade association at local level. I'm supported in the center and financed by all these IABs. So everybody is supporting the center financially, but also by a bunch of what I call corporate members, large, small, medium, European and American companies that are also supporting the center because they know the role of IAB Europe. That's my story, because I will end the last slide with a thank you and with my humble email address that is called president@iabeurope.eu. But always happy to answer any of your questions, because I'm staying here all day. You can always question me, but if later on you think about something or you would like to have a study or information, just send a mail and I can see with the team how I can help you further, because that's our mission as well. For the rest, I thank you a lot, and you will have much more interesting speakers for the rest of the day. Thank you.